Hey guys, Foxdrop here with another patch breakdown video. This patch is patch 4.14. Now I'm not going to be reading out all the changes for you as always, so I'm going to put the link to these patch notes in the description of this video. And because this patch is a rather small patch, I'm going to be doing the changes from every point of view, not just the junglers, because I think there's not really enough to cover if I just do it from jungle point of view. Now there's going to be the names of the different champions down the side here, so you can click to whatever champion you want to see me talk about and it will skip to that point in the video. So because this is a rather short one and Gnar has just been released, I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about him. Before I get started, actually, I should say that I have a top jungler video for patch 4.13, or at least I made it in patch 4.13, but because nothing really has changed in 4.14, at least the list hasn't changed, it's still relevant, so you can still use that. It's still all good. I don't need to make a new video. It's all gravy, so I'll link that as well in the description too, so you can check that out. But with Gnar, a little while back, maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, when he was released on the PBE, I played him for a while. I streamed him actually, and I released a PB commentary. So if you are interested in seeing how Jungle Gnar works, then you should take a look at that. I'll shove that in the description for you as well, so for your convenience. Jungle Gnar is not really that good. Gnar is not a jungler. He's a much better laner, in my opinion. I think he's a pretty good top laner, but he could also work as a mid laner as well. Their roles tend to be somewhat similar in that regard. He reminds me very much of... well, he's quite unique and it's hard to kind of compare him to an extent, but I think he's similar in the way he works to a kind of like a Nidalee or like a Quinn, those kind of people. I'm not saying he's exactly like those champions, I just think that the role that he fulfills, the stuff that he does, is very similar to those champions. I think he's a lane bully, I think he's a good split pusher, I think he's a very good duelist, but I don't really think that he transitions very well into team fights. I think he's better off in the lane phase, better off in the mid and the early games, and not so good the later the game goes on. At least that's my opinion. So that's what Jungle Gnar, not just Jungle Gnar, that's what Gnar is like overall. And like I say, he's not really a great jungler, and the reason for that is because if someone is such a good laner, then when you stick them in the jungle, you're kind of wasting a lot of their potential. You're not really getting a lot of use out of them, because chances are, whenever someone has a strength, they also have a weakness to compensate. So when you're putting them in a position that doesn't really pertain to their strengths, then you're taking away a strength, but you're not necessarily taking away a weakness to balance it out. So what that means is that instead of your champion being at a certain power level, instead of being like kind of good at something, they end up just not being that good because you're not using them properly. So that's kind of like what it is for Gnar, in my opinion. Corgi just says soon. It says soon 3 times, so that's cool. Gragas is a little change which doesn't really do anything. Kassadin's ulti here, although we want Kassadin's iconic strength to be his super mobility, we also want him to be thinking hard about when and how often he jumps around. So his ulti now has 20-second cooldown from 12 seconds. I think I'm reading that correctly, I'm not sure. That's pretty good because Kassadin is pretty, as far as it goes right now, he's a permaban champion in my opinion in solo queue. Whether or not he's still a permaban champion, it's hard to say. But just the fact that he jumps in, destroys someone, and then you can't really kill him in time before he jumps back out again is really frustrating the play versus. I think the worst thing about having a Kassadin on the enemy team is that you don't feel like there's anything you can do to stop him from dominating your team. It doesn't feel like there's enough counterplay, and that's when stuff gets very, very bad and unhealthy for the game, is when you don't feel like there's any counterplay. So I think when you increase his cooldown, you reduce his mobility, and I think the reasoning Riot has given is quite smart, where they say we want him to be thinking hard about when and how often he jumps around. So that's good. I think that's a nice change, but like I say, whether or not Kassadin is still permabanned, I'm not sure. I would personally still err on the side of caution and just ban him away, because he's a bit of a bitch to play versus. There's a bug with KO. Kog'Maw as well here. This is something which I admit I'm not 100% on board with, this change here. What they've done, Kog'Maw is very good late game. He's okay in like lane phase. He's not... basically, he gets stronger as the game goes on, but he's not necessarily really weak in the lane phase or anything like that. It's not like he's really weak early on and really strong later on. He just is really strong later on, but he doesn't have any escape, doesn't have very good mobility. and if people get onto him, he can't really help himself that much unless he just destroys them himself and melts them down. So what Riot has done is they've made his mobility even worse, which is kind of fair enough, I suppose, if you think he's too strong. The new particles and voids are really cool, by the way, but still, this is something I don't really necessarily agree with, is his changing his living artillery, because this change here hurts Kog'Maw in a playstyle in a way that was not overpowered. That, pretty much undoubtedly is not something which Riot is targeting to change, at least not directly. AB Kog'Maw is not something that Riot is thinking, holy crap, this is so overpowered, let's get rid of it. I'm pretty much guarantee you they're not thinking that. With these changes, they're trying to change the standard Kog'Maw, the one which is really strong. So I don't really see why they're making that specific change, even though this change hurts. Normal Kog'Maw. Yes, it tones him down. I think it also tones down a playstyle which isn't even overpowered, to the extent where it doesn't need nerfs, and when you do nerf it, then it's actually kind of crappy. I mean, this happened a lot with, not happened a lot, but this happened, I remember thinking, with Alistar a few patches back, where they reduced the damage his trample did to monsters. Now, I'm pretty sure they reduced the damage it did to monsters. It may have changed the damage it does to minions. I always get these two mixed up. Well, I always, like, when I'm reading it, whenever I see minions, I see monsters in my head, right? So, I don't know whether or not I've got that wrong, but it seems weird that they changed those kind of things when Jungle Alistar wasn't exactly a problem. So, I don't know. I don't really like that specific change, but whatever, Kog'Maw is kind of strong, and so they need to tone him down. And I guess no one really plays AB Kog'Maw, so it's not a huge deal, but still. It's a slight shame. Lulu has a tooltip fix. Now this change to Maokai. Maokai needed to be changed. Sadly, when they reworked him, they wanted to change him into a jungler. Well, Maokai's always been a jungler. They wanted to make him more viable as a jungler, but what they ended up doing was turning him into the most destructive top laner that Season 4 has seen. So they've changed how his W does. Well, his W now does less damage to you, and also it has lower scaling, and you can't keep your ulti on forever now. You can only have it on for 10 seconds, but still 10 seconds is a very long time. So I still feel like Maokai is quite strong, definitely strong as a top laner, as a jungler. He's still good. These changes definitely tone him down a little bit, but I still think he's very powerful. So Morgana has also received some changes, and this is something which is good. I really dislike playing versus Morgana. Now, a lot of people dislike her because they think that the particles on her Q are unrealistic. They think that her Q is a lot thicker than it looks like, therefore it's really hard to dodge bindings. For me personally, I don't have a problem with that. Maybe that's because I don't play lane as much, but still, that's not my big issue. My big issue with Morgana is with her shield. Now, I know that her shield is also kind of like an iconic feature about her, so it seems that you don't want to just like completely remove it, because then, no, she's not really Morg anymore. But at the same time, it's so annoying, especially as a jungler. You can't... Morg's shield just makes the game very boring, in my opinion, because what it does is it stops any plays from happening. It stops a lot of aggression from happening, because you can't CC someone, you can't displace them when they have black shield on, which means that they can play extremely safe. Well, they can play extremely risky and still be safe. Basically, they are safe when they shouldn't be safe, so it's hard to make plays, because this black shield is the #1 cock blocker in League of Legends. So that's quite annoying to play versus. So the fact that they've reduced the shield health is kind of nice, because, I mean, the shield health itself wasn't really a huge issue, but the fact that now when that shield is down, the black shield goes down as well, so you can CC them, that's good, in my opinion. Especially the fact that they've removed the health at lower ranks, because Morg didn't really tend to skill this up until slightly later on. So at least in the lane phase, this is the shield is easy to break. They've also reduced the damage on her ulti, so that's nice as well. Just toning her down a little bit. I think maybe they didn't even need to make this ulti change, because I think that's kind of a nice thing about Morg, is that you see the perfect opportunity and bam, you flash in, you ult, you catch like 3 or 4 people, and you completely turn a team fight around. That's quite a nice way to be playing Morg. It's quite a rewarding thing to have happen, that like, oh wow, we just won this team fight. So I don't really even think you need to nerf that, but maybe tone down the thickness of the Q particle or something. I don't know, but still, nerfs to Morg, that's all good. Reducing Orianna's base attack damage is quite nice as well, because Orianna is quite frustrating laning to play versus, because she just attacks you 24/7 and then she shields herself and she doesn't take any minion damage, and her passive clock wind up I think it's called. Her passive does even more damage to her basic attack, so reducing her base attack damage makes a lot of sense considering she gets auto attack damage from her passive anyway. How far have we got to go? Okay. Rengar is slightly nerfed here, but he's still good. Rengar is still good here. This is a bottom line. Basically what they've done is they have increased the cooldown on his ulti, especially at rank 1, by 30 seconds, which is actually quite a lot. And they have also increased the warning indicator range from 1000 to 1250 units. And also, you don't even need to be, even if you're in fog of war, the indicator will go off. So he's now, basically you'd have to be pretty brain AFK to not realize Rengar is ulting towards you anymore. And the fact they've increased the ult cooldown, this happens a lot. Whenever an aggressive jungler, whenever an aggressive jungler is very popular and is having a lot of impact, if they have a high impact ultimate, that ult cooldown will be nerfed at rank 1. This is exactly what happened with Vi as well, where they nerfed the cooldown on her ulti, but this doesn't kill him. He's still very strong. And as the ranks go, as you get later on into the game, the ranks still really, the cooldown goes to exactly the same as it was before, so you'll feel it less later on. But these nerfs were needed, so it's okay, but he's still powerful in my opinion. Now they've fixed bug with Syndra, they fixed bug with Thresh. Finally, this Thresh bug was really annoying. This is something which I find kind of funny. It's like thanks to one particularly intrepid player. I saw the video of when someone kind of could reproduce this Thresh bug. It wasn't really that impressive. It was like quite, well, when I watched it I was thinking, really, like, this bug's been around since its release and this is all it is? Like, it's surely you'd be able to, it just seemed really weird that this had taken so long to find out. And I just think it's particularly strange that it took a random guy in the community to find it, and it wasn't even really like a huge deal. I don't know, that just seems surprising to me, but at least, it's gone now, which is good, because that was a really frustrating bug. Nerf to Xerath, which means you can't spam out your ultis anymore, that's fine. This Z change is quite nice as well, because I think this is a very thematic change in my opinion. It's a quality of life change, which I like, because, I mean, this one right here, when Zed uses Death Mark on a target, he dashes behind them instead of in front of them. This one I can't really comment too much on. I don't really know how that will influence it too much, influence the the dynamics of Zed. I don't really think it's going to do that much in my personal opinion. But this one, the unblockable Zed, is the deadliest. Zed now ignores unit collision while Death Mark is active on a target. I like this change because this is what I was saying about thematic changes. I think this is a very thematic change because it suits the role of an assassin. I think when you're playing an assassin and you're looking for opportunities to go in, you're looking to be sneaky, you want to pick someone off, you want to get in, you want to get out, this change is quite nice because it makes the whole kind of the fluidity of how you're playing these assassins a lot easier, a lot better. Because the worst thing you want to do is you want to, you say you're skulking around, you're looking for your target, you find the perfect window of opportunity to go in, you go in, and then he runs away, and you get like completely cock blocked by a minion wave or something, and you feel really clunky, and you're like moving around, you're like just like it's just really ugly when that doesn't happen anymore. You feel more like a proper assassin, and I like that kind of change. Like, I don't think this makes Zed overpowered, because I don't really think in a lot of opportunities, a lot of instances, you're not really going to feel this because you don't even need this. But in some cases, you will feel this. It will help you. And I think that it is a minor change, but it is a nice quality of life change to the extent where it makes playing Zed more enjoyable. So that's my opinion on those changes. All this other stuff is like, I don't really, it's just random stuff which doesn't really pertain to game balance. I'm not going to talk about it. I've already talked a bit too long. But that's what I want to say on these patch notes changes, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I talked for a little bit longer than I had intended to, but I covered everything. So this was a rather small patch, not too many changes, but still, like I say, for my jungle video, the patch 4.13 best junglers video. Still extremely relevant for the 4.14. Nothing has changed, so I definitely suggest you watch that if you're interested in seeing what junglers are the best right now. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking now, guys. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a wonderful day, guys, as always. Of course you're going to have a wonderful day. Just finish watching my video. What better way? What better way to be enjoying yourself? But thanks so much, guys. I'll catch you around, and I'll see you in my next video.